Welcome to today's Explainer. We're talking about an absolutely massive shift in rock music. We're going from an underground rumble to absolute global dominance, unpacking the explosive evolution of nu metal. We're going to trace its journey step by step, just really zeroing in on how a deeply aggressive musical mutation broke out of the basement and, well, completely took over the mainstream. Okay, let's dive into this. Historically, heavy metal, hip hop, and funk, they lived in totally different worlds. So how on earth did the aggressive distortion of metal, the rhythmic delivery of hip-hop, and that undeniable bouncing groove of funk actually collided to create a sound that literally hijacked the early 2000s? To really get that, we have to look at the exact moment this fusion started. So this collision created nu metal in the mid to late 90s. The absolute secret ingredient here, blending. This wasn't just traditional heavy metal with a guy awkwardly rapping over it, though, some definitely tried that. No, it was the forceful injection of hip-hop and funk rhythms deep into the actual DNA of metal. That rhythmic foundation separated it from everything else. It was incredibly heavy, for sure, but it fundamentally made you want to move in a totally new way. Now, every massive movement needs a genesis point, right? A pioneer. And for nu metal, that pioneer was Korn. They didn't just tweak the existing rock formula, they essentially shattered the whole thing. They created a sound that was noticeably darker and much, much crunchier than standard rock music of the time. They really laid down the heavy, rhythmic bricks for this entirely new genre. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how they pulled it off. So, while decades of rock had been defined by your standard pitched six-string guitars, Korn's secret weapon was actually the down-tuned seven-string guitar. By adding that extra string and just significantly dropping the tuning, they could hit lower, heavier frequencies that normal rock guitars physically could not reach. It wasn't just about playing louder, those low frequencies created this incredibly bizarre, visceral groove. That unique groove culminated in their 1996 album, Life is Peachy. This record is just the perfect snapshot of the genre's raw, unpolished mechanics. It was wildly aggressive and super experimental. They definitely weren't trying to be pretty or radio ready here. It features these incredibly jarring, sudden vocal outbursts laid right over those thick seven-string rhythmic patterns. It felt less like a traditional rock album and way more like a sudden sonic assault. So why did teenagers connect so deeply with such an abrasive sound? Well, it provided absolute catharsis. Just like grunge did before it, nu metal completely bypassed fantasy and those typical rock and roll tropes to focus entirely on raw emotion. The lyrics spoke directly to the misunderstood outsider. For the listeners, this aggressive barrage of music turned into a powerful, completely necessary emotional outlet to just release all that pent-up frustration. Let's move to and see how this builds, because once Korn proved there was a massive audience desperate for this release, the commercial explosion followed almost instantly. Other artists took this dark, heavy foundation and started aggressively blending their own wildly diverse musical backgrounds into the mix. The genre started to mutate super rapidly, branching out into vastly different yet equally heavy directions. You suddenly had this wild, three-pronged attack on the mainstream. First, you have Deftones, who injected an atmospheric, almost shoegaze-influenced texture, proving that sheer brutality could actually still be deeply melodic and beautiful. Meanwhile, Limp Bizkit leaned heavily the opposite way, utilizing actual turntables, aggressive rap delivery, and distinct hip-hop culture to craft these massive, stadium-ready anthems. And then, emerging straight from the underground, Slipknot pushed sonic and visual boundaries to the absolute limit with a chaotic, percussion-heavy assault paired with terrifying theatrical masks. Three totally distinct bands expanding the genre in completely unique ways. Following all that massive experimentation, we hit a critical turning point, the turn of the millennium peak. Right around the year 2000, nu metal reached its commercial zenith. But, to get there, the raw, muddy aggression of 1996 really had to evolve. The production became way more refined, incorporating polished electronic elements and much tighter pop sensibilities, designed for maximum global reach. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how Linkin Park basically cracked the code for that massive global reach with their debut album, Hybrid Theory. They absolutely perfected a dual vocal style, seamlessly weaving beautiful melodic singing with really precise rap delivery. Plus, they integrated highly sophisticated electronic sequencing, which made the heavy riffs feel incredibly modern, and they perfectly timed their turntable scratches. They basically took all the wildly diverse elements of the 90s and wove them together flawlessly. But Linkin Park wasn't alone in this commercial mastery. Heavy hitters like Papa Roach and Disturbed took the genre's earlier raw aggression and just streamlined it. They crafted undeniable, super radio-friendly hooks and massive driving anthems. But crucially, they retained those deeply personal lyrics, basically packaging the catharsis that fans craved in a way that completely dominated global alternative airwaves.
So, the crucial point is looking at the incredible trajectory we've just witnessed. It starts in the mid to late 90s as this hybrid underground experiment, right? Then, by 1996, Korn introduces that heavy, down-tuned seven-string groove. Fast forward just a few years to the early 2000s, and through rapid, diverse experimentation and streamlined radio hooks, nu metal isn't just a subgenre anymore. It is the undisputed king of global rock music.
Nu metal brilliantly captured the raw frustration and the feeling of being an outsider for an entire era of teenagers. It provided a much-needed emotional release. So my question to you is, what genre provides that ultimate catharsis today? Where do listeners go right now to release those strong emotions and really feel understood? I want you to think about that as you reflect on this explosive era of music. Thanks for diving deep into this explainer with me. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.